Across the exiled lands, one may come across journals haunted by the spectre of a strange woman. The harlot once wandered the arid desert in ages past, and this is her story. The harlot found herself in quite the predicament. The old chieftain she once served lay dying, and she had no ability to help, her expertise being only of, as she would put it, bedroom acrobatics. She wonders what would become of her after he passes. The chieftain's son, Chamil, was a strong yet unintelligent man who may offer her a safe haven here if she plays her cards right. The harlot chose to pay Chamil a visit in the night to ease his weary mind. The prospect of getting caught was enticing, though the thought of the wheel was significantly less so. Days later, the chieftain still clung to life. Worse still, Chamil's loose lips may have spread word of the harlot's bedroom deeds to the camp guards, despite her wishes. She knows that danger is rife whilst the chieftain still lives, and ponders escaping south beyond the safety of the walls. Alas, the harlot was too slow to seek safety, but her cunning gave her freedom regardless. She used oils to slip her bindings at the wheel during the change of the guard and ran through the desert until the village disappeared. She skirted the gargantuan walls of the unnamed city and passed through Skulker's End, where she saw many souls weary and needy. Nevertheless, she chose to move onward. The city loomed above her and disquieted her soul, thus she followed the river away from the cursed ruins. Upon the river, the harlot was stalked by crocodiles, but blessed by luck when a large one, snapping at her from the river, tore away only her dancing silks. The beast seemed happy to thrash about with the torn fabric, and the harlot donned a plainer clothing and continued onward. Exhausted, she elected to make camp before heading further north, drawn by a spire stretching to the clouds. At the foot of Death Whisper Ruin, the harlot's camp was battered by wind, and, in the night, the ruins muttered strange words to her. She desired to leave at the earliest convenience, but her limbs wept and ached. Travelling these lands had exhausted her more than any man or woman in the bedchambers of Zamora, and yet more footfall laid ahead. The only grace was what she thought were occasional sounds from the north, where she prayed to find a camp in the morning. She missed her bed, and even the old chieftain. Travelling north, the harlot came upon the Black Galleon, and a welcome reprieve from the slog of travel. Food and the company of men and women to her liking, she was welcomed with open arms. Men fought for her fancy, and her skills of a fluttered eyelash or mysterious smile served her well. Protection and shelter came easy from her many followers, yet one woman was not so enamoured. Jamila, the pirate queen, eyed her with suspicion. She was strange and unlike the harlot, and she always kept eyes on the ruins in the far southwest. Sometime later, the Black Galleon was overrun by raiders, likely the same bandits who would usurp Jamila as captain. The harlot fled to where she knew the miscreants would not follow, yet quickly found out why. With pockets full of stolen bread and water, she skirted the sinkhole and heard the breath of a gargantuan beast louder than her own thundering heart. She stayed only long enough to ensure the raiders had not followed, and chose to chase lights she'd seen in the south, if only to keep the hyenas at bay. The harlot found herself amongst strangers and in an uncomfortable place, despite the warm welcome. Within the dark depths of the summoning place, the harlot had bedded the high priest the night prior, and was cursed with a dream of blood and water, an outstretched hand holding her in the skies only to lay her down in a river where the eyes of men undress her despite the bare-skinned women around. She was reminded of what her first madame had taught her, that perhaps it is what they do not see, but what the mind chooses to imagine. The harlot watches the way back from the summoning place, careful of pursuers. The cannibal savages there had done something irreparable, her veins coursing with visions of a dark, swirling maelstrom of pain hovering beneath a tentacled shadow. Whatever infernal concoction they had requested she drink had cursed her mind with strange visions that now perhaps give a newfound clarity. She sees the dream of the night prior as a premonition, and chooses to go to Zath willingly. Perhaps in his afterlife there are beds of the finest spider silk. The story of the Harlot is a strange one. A pleasure slave of Zamora, it appears she is never truly at home, a wandering soul in the land of exiles. She had settled in the chieftain's village for the promise of safety, and even when she was welcomed at the Black Galleon, she settled there for seemingly no other reason than safety and shelter. The Harlot is a rather mysterious character, led to an even more mysterious end by the Defari's strange magic imbuing her dreams and dark visions. It is telling that, in the end, she thinks she may only find safety in the embrace of her spider god Zath. Little else is known about the Harlot, who exactly she was, how she ended up here, but she is nevertheless an intriguing and mysterious character in the Conan Exiles lore. Thank you for watching, and of course a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. If you want to support the channel yourself, check out the Patreon through the link in the description, or join here as a member on YouTube by clicking join just below this video. Take care, and I'll see you soon.